Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today starts my October wrap-up vlog, so stay tuned. So it is October 2nd and I've already completed one book. I completed The One by Kira Cass. This is the third book in the Selection series, and I read the first two last month at the very end, and then I just finished this one today. And where the other ones were 4 stars, this one was 5 stars because I was like panicking, I was gasping, I was upset by things that happened in this, and it had my emotions all twisted up. So this one got 5 stars, and I am excited to see, I'm really excited to see what the show on Netflix ends up being like. I'm hoping that I enjoy the rest of the books as much as I did the first 3. So it is Sunday, October 4th, and I have completed 2 more books. First off, I completed The Au Pairs by Melissa de la Cruz. This is definitely what it says here, a guilty pleasure beach read. This was fun, light, fluffy, definitely guilty pleasure kind of book. If you like light, fluffy kind of things, you're gonna enjoy this. This follows 3 girls from 3 very different walks of life coming to the Hamptons to work as au pairs for this very wealthy family. We have Eliza, who she was part of this world. She knew the family that she was working for. They were friends. She knew all of these people that they hang out with in the Hamptons, and she knew celebrities and all of that. But then her dad got into some trouble with accounting stuff at work and nearly found himself in prison, but instead ended up bankrupt, and now they live in Buffalo. And she's taking this opportunity to work this job as an au pair in order to get to the Hamptons, get away from Buffalo, get to spend some time with her friends, though she's definitely not letting any of them know that she is there for work and not for just play. She's telling them all that she's just there staying with her uncle. And then we have Mara. Mara is a small town girl, and she's just looking to earn some money to help pay for college, and she's also dealing with this kind of a jerk of a boyfriend back home, and so there's that going on. And then we have Jackie, who is from Brazil, and she met this boy down there and she fell in love, and they spent 2 weeks together, and then he just disappeared, and she was desperately wanting to find him again. And she remembered him saying that his family always spends the summers in the Hamptons, and so when this job came available, she snatched it up so that she could go to the Hamptons and search for her dream boy. Nothing goes as any of them plan, and it was a lot of fun. It was super cute, and I give it 4 stars. And then I completed Hello Universe by Erin and Trotta Kelly, and okay, I didn't hate this book. I didn't like this book. I'm going to give this 2.5 stars. This is very young middle grade. So like, this is like 5th, 6th grade kind of middle grade, I think. We have one girl who likes to tell fortunes, and her friend Virgil, he's come to her looking for help to become friends with this other girl named Valencia, and he's really shy, and he thinks that they're meant to be friends, and so he's asked the fortune teller friend, hey, help. And so she sends him out in the woods to collect some stones. And then this Valencia girl also has an appointment set up with our little fortune teller girl, and when she shows up, our fortune teller friend is distracted because Virgil never showed up with the stones. He's over an hour late, and they're worried about him. So as time goes on, our fortune teller friend, she gets more and more concerned, and then they all go out and try to find Virgil. And Virgil, he's in the woods, he deals with a bully, the bully drops his backpack down a well and Virgil goes in after it and finds himself trapped in this well. And we kind of get his perspective with him dealing with being stuck in a well, and we get their perspective while they're looking for him. And that's the gist of the story. It was okay, but I'm just gonna give it 2.5 stars. So it is Wednesday, October 7th, and I have finished 2 more books. So on the 4th, I finished Happily Ever After by Kira Cass. This is the little collection of novellas for the Selection series. It kind of goes in between, well, it goes before the Selection series and in between the first 3 books, and some after the first 3 books, but before The Heir. I really enjoyed this. I think my favorite story in here was The Prince, where we got to see part of the prince's perspective on the beginning of the selection process and up through a good part of it, and I was enjoying it so much. I literally could have listened to his perspective for like the entire series over again. So yeah, I enjoyed this. I want to say I give it 4 stars. And then yesterday on the 6th, I finished The Heir by Kira Cass. Sorry if you hear rattling around. Tigger is attacking a plastic bag at the moment. This is like 18, well, no. Yeah, it's about 18 years in the future from the one. And their daughter is in line for the crown. And she wasn't planning on it, but ends up doing a selection herself, and so it's kind of like The Bachelorette. But what's really cool, and this is what was cool about the prince in here, is we get her perspective. So in the first 3 books, you pretty much knew that America was going to end up being the winner because it was all in her perspective. But in The Heir, we only get Elend's perspective and not the 35 men. So you really don't know who she's going to end up choosing. Also, okay, to start off, Elend is not the most likable character. She's kind of spoiled. She's very distant, closed off, and a little bit of a snob. But her character does progress throughout. And oh my gosh, what happens in the end of this book, I was not prepared for. It kind of came out of left field and broke my heart, and I was crying. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. It is Friday, October 9th, and I've completed 3 more books. So yesterday I completed The Crown by Kira Cass. You know, The Heir and The Crown really surprised me because I had kind of low expectations for those books going in. I kind of thought maybe it would have kind of passed where it needed to go with the Selection series. But oh my gosh, these 2 books really surprised me. So I think I said before that I gave The Heir 4.5 and I give The Crown 5 stars. This was really, really good. I love the way it wrapped the whole story up. And as I said before with The Heir left me crying. And excuse me, sorry, Katniss is like nipping at me to try to get my attention. The Crown had me starting crying because it kind of picked right back up where The Heir left off, and just my heart. This is really good. I give it 5 stars. I do recommend reading those last 2 books. And then yesterday I also started and finished Unqualified by Anna Faris. I listened to the audiobook with Marty yesterday, and it was fun. It was mostly about like relationship advice and also like her history with guys and things like that. It was really good. I enjoyed it. It was funny at times, and it was just interesting to listen to. I give it 3.5. And then today I finished this kind of early. I wasn't supposed to finish it until Sunday because I'm supposed to be buddy reading it, but I did finish The Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. This is just a fun series and I give it 4 stars. So it is Monday, October 12th, and I have completed 2 more books. So I would say yesterday, technically I completed both of them, though one of them I finished at like 1 o'clock in the morning because I stayed up all night to finish it, and that was Shadow of the Hidden by Anne Riley. This book was a surprise. I really went into it with not like super high expectations because this is a book I got from McKay's for 50 cents. Sorry, Tigger is attacking a plastic bag. And I went on to Goodreads and I was checking it out, and it has only 151 ratings. And I mean, with only 151 ratings, it does have a 4.1 on Goodreads. But I was like, I don't know if I can trust that 4.1 just because there is only 151 ratings. But this was really good. It was really well written. It was really interesting. I was engrossed the entire time. I started this, what day did I start it? I believe I started this Friday night, the 9th, and then I finished it pretty much on the 10th, but technically, because it was 1 o'clock in the morning, it was the 11th when I finished it. Okay, let's see how to describe this without spoiling anything. So this is told from 2 different times. We have present day and we have about 300 years in the past. And it starts out with a chapter that was set in the past. And then we go to present day where our main character, Natalie, she goes to this boarding school that her aunt is the headmistress of. Her parents went missing 5 years ago, and the last place that they were seen or anything was there in Maine while visiting with her aunt. And they kind of just disappeared without a trace. There were no bodies found or anything, so she isn't sure if they're actually dead, but she kind of assumes that they are because it's been 5 years. And she really just wants to know what happened to them. And then the story that's going on in the timeline in the past is actually about these druids and this ancient relic. And I really enjoyed it. Oh, here is the ancient relic. It's this cross necklace here. Really interesting. Hold your attention the entire time. I didn't mind the back and forth, and you see how these things kind of overlap, how the stories kind of come together. I don't know why this book didn't get more attention than it did, why it's only got 151 ratings. It really is a great story, and I also give it 4 stars. And then yesterday we were on our way back from Marty's parents' house, and we listened to Innocence by Dean Koontz on the way there and back, and so we finished this yesterday. This is actually one that I didn't realize it when we first started it, but then I started noticing that I remembered things in here. I have read this one before, and we follow 2 characters. Our main character, he is kind of feared and people are repulsed by him, so he lives underground. His mother made him leave home when he was like 8 years old. That was as long as she could stand being around him. She did actually try to kill him multiple times as a baby, but she just couldn't bring herself to do it. And so when he was 8, she sent him away. She just couldn't handle it anymore. Anytime people see him or see others like him, they are instantly like just repulsed. They want to do them harm, like immediately try to kill them, things like that. And so he has to stay hidden. He only travels the city by night. He always wears like a hood and like maybe a ski mask, keeps his head down because apparently his eyes are something that like people will know what he is right away just by seeing his eyes. And the only person that he has had in his life since his mother kicked him out has been this man that he kind of calls father. It's almost like a foster father. He is like him, and his father teaches him their ways and how they have to do things. But 6 years ago, his father was killed when people saw what he was. And so for the past 6 years, he's been on his own until one night he sees this little goth girl that is running away from a man in a library after hours. And he's just kind of mesmerized by her. She's done up almost like this marionette. And when he speaks with her, she is accepting of not looking at him. And she has her own issues. She can't be touched. She has this crippling social anxiety. She cannot be touched by anybody. So she also really, she doesn't go out in public much. The only time she goes out is when others are not around. So like when the weather's bad or late at night, things like that. So she could stay away from people. And they kind of make this deal where she won't try to look at him and he won't try to touch her, and they can kind of be friends. But she is also trying to stop this man who stole from her father and also tried to rape her. So our main character tries to help her with everything she's got going on. And it was really interesting, and I gave it 4 stars. So it is Friday, October 16th, and I've completed 4 more books. So I completed on the 14th, I completed The Third Victim by Lisa Gardner. This follows a local cop who is dealing with a school bombing in a town where nothing really bad ever happens. Most of their little police department is volunteer. And all of a sudden, this kid that she's known her whole life, the sheriff's son, who is only a 7th grader, has been found with the gun in hand at the school in the midst of this school shooting, and admits to having shot people. But this cop knows that there's something off, and she doesn't think either he didn't do it or he was made to do it by somebody else, and that there was somebody else involved. And the feds get involved and all of that, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was, I'd say I give it a 3.75. And then on the 15th, I completed Blue Bloods by Melissa de la Cruz. This is sort of a vampire story in a way. The Blue Bloods, they came over from like England. They were on like the Mayflower and all of that. And they're sort of immortal, but not exactly. They live like 100 years and then they recycle. And so they essentially kind of die, but there's like 1 drop of their blood left to go on to their next, almost like a reincarnation type thing. But they remember all of their lives and everything. So they don't necessarily really die, they're just kind of recycled. But they don't like start getting their memories and all of that and become and really switch from being a normal human to being this immortal being until around 15, 16 years old. And our main character, she's just now like realizing something is weird and that she's actually one of these vampires, and like her teeth come in and all that stuff. And in addition to that, they learn that there's something worse than them, and there are these things that are hunting the Blue Bloods. And again, this was fun. I enjoyed it. It was definitely reminiscent of like Twilight and stuff, but I enjoyed it. I say I would give this like a 3.5. And then today I finished 2 books. So one of them is actually like a picture book, and it's made like a kid's book, but it's really not for kids. It's for adults, but it's a parody based on like a kid's book. And I got it today and I had to read it today, and it was amazing. And for what it is, I'm giving it 5 stars. And that is If You Give a Pig the White House by Faye Knus and illustrated by Amy Zing. Yeah, this is fabulous. Like burying his tax returns. He'll ask to watch TV. This is just, it was really funny. There's like Twitter. There's a McDonald's. There's a lot in here, and it was a lot of fun. It was very, very short though. There's not page numbers, but I'm gonna guess it's maybe 20 pages long, something like that. It's super short, but I love it. And then today I also finished Dorothy Must Die Stories Volume 1. This was actually in my extras pile of my Have I Read It, which I haven't gotten to all of the Have I Read It for this month before switching to this, but all of the ones I have left that I have to read, none of them have audiobooks, and I was able to find the audiobook of this, so I started listening to this as well. So I'm making a little bit of a dent in my extras of my Have I Read It. And I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It has 3 stories in it: No Place Like Oz, The Witch Must Burn, and The Wizard Returns. No Place Like Oz is actually Dorothy's story of her being back in Kansas after the original story, and how she ends up back in Oz, and like what happens when she goes back to Oz, and how she changes from the Dorothy that, you know, we all know from the story to the Dorothy in Dorothy Must Die. And then The Witch Must Burn is actually Ozma's like lady in waiting, like her maidservant or whatever, and it's like what happens to her. Like Glinda takes her and things happen, and kind of how she ends up in the position that she's in the main story. And then The Wizard Returns is when Dorothy's leaving, the wizard leaves as well, but turns out he doesn't actually leave. He just his balloon gets knocked down and he ends up in the poppy fields asleep for like 25 years. And then he wakes up and doesn't remember anything about anything. Like he doesn't remember his name. He doesn't remember anything about Oz. He doesn't know where he is or how he got there or where he came from or anything. And this is him kind of relearning that and why he was kept in Oz. It was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to continuing the other volumes as well. Good morning. It is October 19th and I have completed 4 more books. So the day before yesterday, on the 17th, I completed Touched by Corinne Jackson, and I give this 4 stars. I've actually, as soon as I would say as soon as I finished it, I ordered the next one, but actually it was a couple of chapters from the end. I ordered the next book from Amazon, which was the only place I could find it. This is about a girl named Remy who, her mother is in an abusive relationship, or she's married to an abusive man, and Remy has been stuck in the middle her whole life, and she kind of hates her life. And she's also been abused by this stepfather. But Remy has a secret. Remy has the ability to heal. And so anytime her mother was injured, Remy would heal her. And the problem with that was that when Remy heals somebody, she takes on their injuries. Now granted, she can heal herself, but she tries not to heal herself too quickly so that people notice. But one day she's healing her mother, she takes on her mother's injuries, and then Dean, the stepfather, attacks her as well. And her mother both find themselves badly damaged in the hospital. And Remy's father shows up and takes her to live with him. And now she gets this kind of second chance, but she feels a lot of guilt for leaving her mom with this abusive man. And she's also afraid of this new family finding out, you know, about her ability and not wanting to have anything to do with her. And then there's a boy. There's always a boy. And this boy, he's drawn to her, she's drawn to him, but there's something about both of them. Remy has the ability to heal, and he's something different, but he's something other than just a normal human. And they cause each other pain, but at the same time they're drawn to each other. Part of it gives me a little bit of Twilight vibes, but a little more modern and updated, but also not vampires. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to continuing it, and I give it 4 stars. And then yesterday I finished 3 books. So the first thing I finished was an audiobook that I was listening to, and that was Dorothy Must Die Stories Volume 2 by Danielle Page. This one has Heart of 10, The Straw King, and Ruler of Beasts. And it essentially tells like how each of them became a little more twisted like they were in Dorothy Must Die. Kind of like what happened to lead them to being not the kind, cuddly, lovable ones we know from The Wizard of Oz. I really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. And then I physically was reading 2 different books. So one I started the day before yesterday and finished it yesterday, and that was Prom Nights from Hell by Stephanie Meyer, Kim Harrison, Meg Cabot, Lauren Miracle, and Michelle Jaffe. And I give this a 3.5. I averaged up my ratings for, there's like 5 stories in here. And let's see, the first story I only gave like 2 stars. I almost gave it 1 star because I almost DNF'd that first story, but I decided to push through. It's called The Exterminator's Daughter by Meg Cabot. And it was like, it kind of gave me wannabe Buffy vibes, but not as good. And then The Corsage by Lauren Miracle, I gave 3 stars. And then the other 3, Madison Avery and the Dim Reaper by Kim Harrison, Kiss and Tell by Michelle Jaffe, and Hell on Earth by Stephanie Meyer, I gave each of those 4 stars. So it actually averaged out to be 3.4, but I did enjoy it. And then yesterday, like all in one sitting, I read Scary Stories Treasury, which is just actually 3 books. It's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. And the page numbers even like restart. There's like, you know, the author information and all that, and then you have like a blank page, and then the start of the next book. And so like the page numbers start over, everything. And I don't know if I should rate like each individual book or just this whole thing. For rating this whole thing, I would probably give it like a 2.5. I was not really a fan of most of the stories. To me, most of them were just kind of dumb. There were some that were funny, and I did enjoy those. I actually really enjoyed more than anything the artwork throughout. Like the artwork was like creepy and really cool, but the stories were just kind of terrible. But the artwork, very, very spooky, and I really, really like the artwork. So I think it actually ended up getting like that extra 0.5 just because of the artwork, because I thought the artwork was great. So it is still Monday, October 19th, and I've sort of completed 2 more books. So the first one I completed was Taking Chances, Hot Hollywood Nights, Book 1 by M. Andrews. This is a very short book. It's only like 116 pages long. And okay, the story's not like fabulous, but it's like 116 pages long. It's about a personal assistant to this like hot Hollywood leading man, and she's been his personal assistant for 18 months, but she's just like having all these sexy time dreams about him since the beginning. And apparently he's been hot for her since the beginning, but he's like this playboy and has a different girl every night. And all of a sudden, like one morning, she comes and kicks out whatever the latest bimbo is so that he can get ready, and they have to catch a plane to go to like the next filming shoot he has. And that morning he decides he's done with all of the flings. He wants someone that, you know, he wants a real connection. He wants like the girl for him, and he's decided that his PA is that girl, and he's wanted her from the beginning, and he's been in love with her all this time. And even though that morning there was another woman in his bed, he wants her in his bed that night, and that happens. And within days they're in love and engaged. Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of cheesy in that aspect, but the hot steamy scenes are very hot and steamy and make you have to fan yourself when you're done reading this. I enjoyed it, and I'm gonna give it 4 stars. And then this is the sort of I finished it as much as I'm going to finish it, and that is The Impossible Fairy Tale by Hyun Yuju. This was translated from Korean by Janet Hong. I read the first 3 chapters, so I got through page 22 of this, and this is just too weird. Okay, so the first chapter really is just like 9 words. Let me show you. This is the first chapter. It just says dog, see the dog drift by. And then chapter 2 is all about this dog drifting down this river. That's it. And then chapter 3 is about this girl named Mia, or at least that's the name she calls herself. And she's got 72 German colored pencils from one of her 2 fathers that don't know the other exists or choose to ignore the fact that the other exists. It's not queer. She has a mom as well. I think it's a mom sleeping with 2 men kind of thing. I don't know. But it's just really weird. It talks about like them having the option to like buy ice cream outside the school or buy baby chicks, and how when they buy the baby chicks, a lot of the kids that buy the baby chicks kill the baby chicks, like drop them off the top of the houses and flush them down the toilet and things like that. And I don't know, it's just weird. And it's written like, the translation I think is weird. I wasn't a fan, and I don't think I want to continue reading this. I'm going to give this 1 star. Okay, so it is Friday, October 30th. It's been a minute since I checked in. I should have checked in sooner because I forgot what day I actually finished one of the books I'm going to talk about. So it was a couple of days after the last time I checked in, but for that one I finished Dorothy Must Die Volume 3 by Danielle Page. This has Order of the Wicked, Dark Side of the Rainbow, and The Queen of Oz. And I give this 4 stars as well. The Order of the Wicked is, oh gosh, what's her name? Mombi. It's how Mombi came to be part of this Order of the Wicked, and how Knox came into it as well. For Dark Side of the Rainbow, it's like polychrome story, and The Queen of Oz is kind of what happened with Ozma to cause the split. And I really enjoyed all of these extra stories. I loved getting all the tidbits filled in. It was great. And then for, I don't know, gosh, ever since probably before my last check-in, I've been trying to read this one book, and I hate to say it, but I didn't like it. I couldn't finish it. It's The Fey Witch by M.J. Boschers. I got to page 123, like almost halfway. I'm gonna give this 2 stars. Normally, if I DNF something, it's only gonna get 1 star. However, if I finish it but don't like it, I'll give it 2 stars. And in this case, I was enjoying the story, like the plot going on in here, but the writing is not good. This is a self-published author, and this is her debut novel, and it just, I don't know, it just wasn't where it needed to be, and it was kind of aggravating reading it. For one, and this is fine in other books, I've read other books that are in first person, I don't mind them if they're done well, but this was done in a way like, here's a scene. So like they've just spent this entire chapter coming up with this plan. Okay, we're gonna do this plan. And then it's time for them to do the plan. And they're like, okay, we've all figured out what we have to do. You know what you have to do. I know what I have to do. So we're gonna go and do this, and it's gonna be dangerous, and we may not survive, but this is the plan and we're going for it. Oh, wait a second. I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think this is a very safe plan. Let me sit down on the couch and think about this for a minute. So I went and I sat down on the couch and I thought about it, and I came up with a new plan. So I said to the guys, hey guys, I came up with a new plan. And that was probably actually a better summary than how it actually happened in the book. It was aggravating. And yeah, I give it 2 for the storyline. So I give it that extra point for the storyline. It's about a girl who finds out that she's actually a fae, and she gets sucked into this world where she meets her grandfather for the first time, who is the king, so she is a princess. And there's also like the land of the wizards and the land of the giants, and the land of the wizards are trying to take fae to fix their land and kind of like enslave them, and she's trying to stop them. The general premise of the story is kind of cool. It's just the writing isn't great. And then on Thursday, I finished Sapphire Blue by, hold on. Somebody just told me today in one of my videos that I pronounced this name wrong, so I'm going to look at it. I thought it was pronounced Kirsten Geyer, but it's actually pronounced Kerstin Gear. So on Thursday, I finished Sapphire Blue by Kerstin Gear, and I'm gonna give this a 3, maybe 3.25. I enjoyed it. I don't know, I feel like I haven't read the 3rd book yet, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff that could be taken out of each, and the 3 could be made into 1 book. and it would be, I think, that much better. I think it's just too much fluff in it. But I did enjoy this. But this is the second book in the Ruby Red trilogy. And in November, I'll be reading the final book. So stay tuned for my final thoughts on the whole series next month. But right now, I'm feeling like a 3.25 for that. And then today I finished Masquerade by Melissa de la Cruz. This is the second book in the Blue Bloods series, not trilogy. There's a lot that happens in this book, and it's not that long. It's like 305 pages, but oh my goodness. So there is a masquerade party, but it's actually a fairly small part in the book, so I'm not really sure why they decided to call this one Masquerade, but I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy the masquerade part of it, and there's a lot of different twists, and I don't know, I can't really say too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything. But we learn more about Skylar and her mother. We are introduced to a new character, and our main group of teens are developing in their powers and their abilities and learning. So that's what I can say about this one. And I give this a 3.5. Yeah. And at this point, it is late on the 30th. I don't think I'm going to be finishing anything tomorrow. So I'm going to actually end this wrap-up vlog here because, like I said, I know I'm not going to finish anything tomorrow. And it's Halloween and trick-or-treating and all that good stuff. So let me grab my entire stack of books that I read this month and I'll show them to you. Okay, here are all the books. I think that's everything. If this is everything, that means I read 24 books this month. Though there may have been like some audiobooks that I just don't remember at this point. But if it's not 24, I'll put the number right here. So have you guys read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!